Meek Mill does not know how much money he has made in his entire career. What up, where's your boy Charles Brown back again talking facts. Okay, so I want to read from this article on Double XL and we're going to have a little conversation about hip hop and rappers and blaming everybody else for your own problems. Meek Mill recently gave fans a peek behind the curtain about the money he makes off music and also revealed he has no idea how much he pocketed from his hit single with Drake called Going Bad. On Monday, Meek Mill started a Q&A session on Twitter where he fielded queries from fans on the transitioning social network app. One fan asked what happened to the deluxe version of his latest album, Expensive Pain. The Philly rapper railed against the payout practices of the music industry. I let those albums go once I seen I was getting 13 cents to every dollar. Once I really figured out I ain't promoting no label shit that I don't eat off. My money came from my name and brand. I made $11 million in 10 years from music. Just music payments. I was shocked, mad, and didn't want to really rap for any label. Now I got a real point to prove to show you can survive without getting raped. He added in a follow-up tweet. These are all on Twitter, guys. We're going to have a conversation about these topics that he's talking about because it's a lot to discuss. On a bad month, I make $1 million, Meek Mill continued. A lot of people let me down when I got educated about my business, and it wasn't like I'm not a learner. They mentally keep you faded from knowing. Don't give me a plaque. Give me the financial paper of how much the song I recorded for $20K made $20 million. Not an award. I'm from the trenches. I don't want that. I want an estate. I want my whole family tree to beat the ghetto. Meek Mill said a red flag came when he asked someone at his label for the financial numbers on his 2018 hit. 2018, people keep up. Going Bad, which featured his reunion with Drake after all the nonsense he got back with Drake. One day I asked how much Going Bad made, just that one song. They said 24 million. I was like, how much did I make? All I got was what the F, I know all the financials to my other businesses. LOL, I signed out, lost all trust for that whole system, Meek admitted. I asked Drake to do that song 3 days before my album came out. I think he did it for free for me. We cooked it up. How the F do I not know how much I made off a song that made that much? They give me a plaque. Big mental trickery. It goes on to talk about some other stuff that I don't want to get. His new mixtape, Flame is 5. And he's going to do a show at the Wells Fargo Arena to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Dreams and Nightmares, right? It's a lot more stuff going on, right? But I want to discuss this issue that Meek is saying he doesn't know what he made off of this music. And I want to go back to the beginning of hip-hop. So first of all, we have been getting burnt by record labels, i.e. The Man or whoever you want to call it, since the beginning of time, since we were singing, before rapping was even a thing. The artists back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right now, they've been burning, especially black artists, horribly since the beginning of the recorded industry. We have been getting the worst contracts. 2 cents on a dollar, 3 cents on a dollar, 4 cents on a dollar, 6 cents on a dollar. I remember hearing that Michael Jackson was getting 6 cents on a dollar. 7 cents, I'm sorry, and that was above industry standard at the time. I believe he was one of the ones who finally broke it up to 13 cents or 25 cents, something like that. I don't know what it was. These things have been horrible since the beginning of time, right? Anyone that says their first deal wasn't a bad deal is probably lying to you. Let's just say that. And by the time Meek Mill entered the recorded industry, it was common knowledge that record deals were going to be bad. Meek did not enter the record industry in the 80s and the 90s. Meek, according to this, has been in the business for 11 years. So if it's 2022, Meek came out, according to this, that would mean around 2011, 2010 ish, right? I think it was, I think it may have been a little longer than that, but that's what I'm going by. If he's saying he only made $11 million in 10 years. So 2000, I even gave it 11 years. I thought it was more. Let's say 2012 is what he's claiming he got his money from since then. In 2012, we were all well aware of bad record deals, right? We knew what they were. We saw all of our favorite artists get burnt. We saw Ice Cube run up in the offices over at, I believe it was Priority Records. Everyone heard the story about how he smashed the pictures on the wall with a baseball bat because the record deal was so bad. He had to feed his family and he had no money. People have been getting burned. NWA have been getting burned. The reason Ice Cube left NWA back in this was 80, 87, 88, 89, I don't know, but maybe because I believe his solo project came out around 1990. So I want to believe Cube left NWA 89, between 88 and 90, somewhere around there. I don't remember offhand, but that's a very long time ago. Let's just say that. He did that, had to be almost 30 years ago that Cube left because of bad record deals. And we have been hearing about bad record deals since hip-hop began. We've also heard about people turning down record deals because they didn't need them, right? We've heard about Young Dolph turning them down. We've heard about, it was quite a few rappers who burnt up the record deal, although it was controversial. It was like a bit of a show. Burnt up contracts online on social media because they were trash and, they were making more money without the label. We've heard all this stuff. And in all that time, all these 10 years, yes, there is a lot of trickery and a lot of foul business in the record industry. But at some point, once you build your name and brand, you don't get jerked anymore, right? There is no reason for a rapper in their 30s to say, I don't know what I'm owed. There is absolutely no reason to ever say that. When you're in your 30s and you've made millions of dollars, you have Drake on speed dial who's doing free records for you, that a record makes $24 million and you have no idea what it was supposed to pay you. Rappers tend to want to play the victim, right? A lot of people want to play victim. People want the public to come to their defense. Taylor Swift removed all her music from platforming streaming services years ago. She wasn't even half as old as Meek was when she understood it, that it was burning you, right? But guess what happened? She renegotiated her deal and, wait for it, she makes her money elsewhere on these shows where the tickets are $600 if you can get it before the scalper gets it and charges you 20 grand. She makes millions in other ways. And she makes millions off of her records, but she's still not going to be getting 80% of her earnings. She knows that, and you should know that. So at the end of the day, when you set out to make a record in this business, that cannot be the only way that you eat. And he knows that, and we all know that, right? But you do need to understand the numbers. So when I'm reading the article and Meek says, I'm only getting 13 cents for every dollar on streaming services. First of all, labels can negotiate that with the streaming services. Let's just start there. Second of all, and this is very important, if you know that's what it is, and you're just now deciding to withhold your music, I don't understand whose fault that is if you're just deciding that's not enough of a payout. The simple fact of the matter is Meek has said on this Twitter Q&A that basically for his entire career up until now, recently, that he never even asked these questions. He never even wondered what he was supposed to make because he was getting plaques for his wall and possibly cars and gold chains, which don't amount to anything. And at some point, you're going to say, well, did he not ask what he was owed? Did he not care? Or was he too busy in the middle of doing all kind of things in the hood to get that street respect that he loves so much, right? So my whole thing is this. When we look at rappers that complain about their deal, they still do it to this day. I just saw a rapper a few days ago. They better release my music or I'm out of here. It's every year. You get 2 or 3 rappers. I think it was SZA that was blaming the label. And I'm just so many people that blame their label. Everybody's blaming Rick Ross. Everybody on Rick Ross' label is unhappy, except for Rick Ross apparently. And that's the worst thing as an artist run label. But that's a whole. We're gonna get to that in another video. But you get all of these rappers they're so upset they're blaming the label for this, blaming the label for that, and I understand. Like Megan had this issue with her label. But at the end of the day, the rapper has no problem with the label building it on their back, right? That take that rapper from nothing who had nothing. Most of them starting with nothing. No buzz, nothing, or the smallest of buzzes, and the label will take them and make them into global superstars. Your favorite global rappers right now, Young Boy, all of these guys, they're on labels. And some of them are on major labels, right? That you would not have heard of them without that label and that bad deal that they initially started out with. But you take those bad deals in the beginning, we all know you're going to get them. And then once you hit, you restructure it. You don't go 10 years in your horrible deal when you're rubbing elbows with people like Jay-Z, right? And Robert Kraft, these people that are billionaires, and you're sitting in a bad deal, chilling on their jets, having Hove pay all of your legal fees, right? My whole thing is this, and I'm not to disrespect Meek Mill or come down here. I just want to open some eyes to people who want to follow his footsteps and not know what their business is and not know what they're getting paid and not know what they're owed and not know who's cashing the checks. And to even have someone say, he said he asked him what the song made. You didn't know what the song was going to make before it made 24 million. You still didn't know. You didn't even know. He didn't even know it made 24 million. That means this guy's walking around with his head in the clouds. These are embarrassing, to be honest with you. This stuff is embarrassing. You dropped all this music, all these albums, and you wait till 2022? Wale Ben got off his label and went independent and made more hits after that. I bet he know what the money's going to do. I bet he know what he's getting. So this is the thing. People want to jump on the backs of these sob stories, right? And write them. And yeah, the man is this. At this point, this ain't a story about how labels got trickery. We all know that. We been knew that, Meek. That's not a new news. He's saying it like, oh, they give me a plaque. They're gonna give you what you take. They're gonna give you what you take. And when you blindly walk in these places and make these records and leave, and all you're worrying about is the strip club, which is the biggest trap ever. These rappers that spend a lot of time in the strip club, it never works out well for them. In one way or another, it's 50,000 ways that these strip club rappers burn themselves. They way too distracted with that chick in the strip club. How many times they fought in there, or how many times somebody got shot and killed in there, or somebody got beat up in there, right? Or they got robbed, or something happened after a strip club. Or, in this case, they're not paying attention to their business. You can't tell me you're rapping 10 years and you're just learning that this record made $24 million and Drake didn't get a penny because he gave it to you. That was your blessing. That was your $24 million. Right? My whole thing is this. Rappers, right? It ain't just Meek Mill. Rappers want to spin, buy chains, buy this, buy that, ride jet skis and jump off of yachts and look rich, but they don't want to really be rich. Because rich people know where every dollar's going. They know all of that. You have to. Fat Joe just said he learned that you have to write every single check yourself. He said he had accountants stealing from him for years. Got new accountants and they stole from him. He said every single one of them stole from him. He went broke and owed mad taxes and was facing jail time. I believe he went to jail for tax evasion because his accountants weren't being honest with him and they were writing checks and using his money for everything under the sun but what he was supposed to pay for. He learned that they were taking his money and doing everything but paying his bills. He ended up getting in trouble and having to sell stuff because he didn't have the money no more. Because they took it. Because he wasn't paying attention to it. And this is what happens when you're just trying to be a rapper. This ain't a place where you can just be an artist no more. Or if you're just going to be an artist, then be an artist, shut up, take your 13 cents. You can't have it both ways and come on here and tell everybody for 10 years, I never even checked my financials. And I'm just learning how streaming platforms work. And now the label is this boogeyman. No, the label going to do what labels do. We've been knew that. I told you from the beginning of the video. Labels going to do what they do. It's up to you to decide if that's what you want to let them do. There are mad people who walked away from labels and went independent, right? Meek is saying he don't want to put his music on platforms. That's what what's these guys? Black Star did. They put their music on Luminary. For whatever it's worth. It's a better deal for them financially, but we'll see if it works when people try to get their music. So the thing is, what rappers really don't understand is accessibility. Until you create a better mousetrap, which they tried to do with Tidal, Hov supposedly created a better mousetrap and was paying the highest rates to artists, but then Hov sold it. So we don't know who's running Tidal anymore. We don't know what artists are getting paid. But at the end of the day, until you find a better mousetrap, and Tidal still never even came close to Apple and Spotify. It's accessibility, right? So the simple fact of the matter is if people can't get to your music, then what is it worth? 100% of nothing is nothing. So, yeah, it's going to be good to say, I'm just going to sell it. He says he wants to sell it on Cashapp. So he wants people to hit him directly and sell it, and I get that. If you're all about trying to get the money, then get the money. We saw what Kanye did with the STEM service. The little machine that he put Donda 2 on it. Who heard Donda 2? If you bought the STEM machine or whatever it was, the little thing is something like one of these, right? Something like this. This is something that you can make beats on and, right? You can take that and put music on it. But if I don't want to buy that, I think them STEM machines or whatever they were that Kanye was selling it on, he was selling it, that was probably, was it $200? I'm not sure. But who heard Donda 2? Yeah, he made a shitload of money off the people who bought the STEM player, right? He made money, but legacy-wise, nobody knows that music except for his fans. It's still an unreleased project, right? He released it, but nobody knows one song off of it. You tell me a song. So I'm trying to figure out if you want to be a legacy, is this about the money or is this about being a legacy that can tour? Because Kanye going to tour off his old stuff. I don't know if Meek Mill new stuff is going to be heard if he's selling it off Cashapp. Right? Yeah, he going to get some sales. They're going to pay $10 straight Cashapp, and boom, boom, boom. But who's going to hear that? Meek is legendary because people have heard his music in far-off regions. They didn't buy it on Cashapp. I'm going to wrap this up. I don't want to spend no more time on this, but Meek has to do better. You can't send a message to these kids. You're in your 30s, and you're telling kids, I never knew what my paperwork said, and I never knew where my money went. I just, whatever they gave me, I took it, and I spent it. And now that I'm in my 30s, pushing 40, now I want to get my affairs in order. That's not how this works. You need to get your affairs in order before you hit 30 and 35 and all that like that. So for that, all I want to say is, Meek, this is the wrong message. You need to stand on getting your mind right with these contracts because they're always going to jerk you. It's always in their favor. Get in a comment. Let me know what you think. CLBMG. I'm going to catch you on the flip side. Peace.
CLB.